And we welcome back our dear friend and the Coptic minister, Darcy Davis Beghein, ordained as a Coptic minister with myself in 2008. She's a teacher, musician, and a life coach, combining her study of world philosophies, Coptic training and practices of mind, body, and spirit connection. Darcy teaches the invisible side of success and alignment with the universal laws. For over 30 years, she has worked as a teacher, speaker, workshop leader, and singer, and she's now enjoying retirement. And most recently taught music, choir, and musical theater for 3rd through 8th graders in Arizona. That's already been about a year since her retirement now. Whether teaching or coaching, she empowers others to manifest their dreams through transformative thinking and decisive actions. Darcy's experiential, fun style of teaching with a smile invites people to ignite their passion, power, and purposeful living. As we enjoy another presentation with Darcy from Goodyear, Arizona tonight, where it's still warm. Harvesting creativity, your soul wants to dance, with an exclamation point. She'll share with you in just a moment.
The rhythm of life is calling my name and bids us to listen and follow, dance to the music and hear the refrain. The answers be true in our hearts, and the rhythm of life plays its part. I wrote this song several years ago, and the lilt of the melody still makes me want to smile and dance. It speaks to my heart in a way that makes me want to move, want to dance. I don't know about you, but my soul is begging for more joy. There's a tremendous amount of heaviness in the world today, and my soul is calling me back to be more playful, to implement more creative endeavors. Creativity is born from the heart of the universe. Creativity is rooted in spirituality. Our very existence has been created by the master designer, God, your higher power, the greater creator, or however you characterize the divine. We were certainly made and creatively made so that it makes sense that at our very core, we are creative beings. It's in our DNA. Our creator gave us the ability to create through our minds, our hearts, and inspired action. God is calling us back to our own creative rhythms, to create not only for the sake of creation, but for the sake of our souls. One of my favorite authors, Julia Cameron, states that creativity is God's gift to us. Using our creativity is our gift back to God. I have long studied Cameron's books on her philosophy that she coined the artist's way. She is a deeply spiritual woman and writer who teaches techniques that free people to grow their creative spirits along whatever creative avenue they travel. Cameron encourages us and reminds us that for every step we take toward God, 1,000 steps are taken back towards us. The Course in Miracles puts that a little differently, but the meaning is virtually the same. If you only knew who walked beside you at all times on this path you have chosen, you would never experience fear or doubt again. I absolutely love this teaching and bring it to mind whenever I feel fearful, like when life throws a curveball that causes a detour on my path. I truly believe that our purpose, no matter who we are, is the discovery and the full delivery of who we are to be in this world. We discover ourselves through our creativity. Are you breathing? Then you are a creative individual. We were born to create. Mere living presents us with the opportunity to create a life every day. I have had friends and clients who have claimed that they are not creative because they don't play an instrument, sing, draw, sculpt, or write poetry. That, my friends, is a very short list on the realm of creation. There are so many more ways we can create each and every day in ways that aren't necessarily related to the arts. Creativity can be nurtured and cultivated at any stage of life. All that requires is the will to do so and the application of skill, knowledge, and experience. Being willing to step out of the conventions of your routine, push the boundaries of your comfort zone, and practice mindfulness in the present moment are ways to woo your inner muse and bring forth more creative energy. Have you ever walked into a friend's garden to discover an entirely different side of them than you even know existed? Perhaps the space is organized in a colorful and eye-catching display of fruits and vegetables, flowers and plants. Have you ever been in a meeting with someone who solves a problem in such a creative way that all parties feel the benefit of a win-win situation? Have you ever watched a parent creatively diffuse the determined 3-year-old child who wants to do something that isn't part of the plan at that moment and is threatening to go into a full tilt tantrum? These may not be your initial concepts of creativity, but these examples can definitely be characterized as creative. There are countless ways to create. Free will gives us choices on how we will exercise our creativity. It's up to us what we feel best demonstrates our creativity. Ken Robbins, the author of The Element, How Finding Your Passion Creates Everything, tells the story of a 6-year-old little girl who was not only a free spirit, but she was a child who had trouble sitting still for any length of time in class and generally found it hard to pay attention in school. But when it was time for art, this child transformed into one who couldn't wait to get her hands on the art materials and then begin creating. During a drawing lesson, she sat still and focused for 20 minutes with her arms circled around, her drawing absorbed fully in her work. The teacher was fascinated and asked the girl what she was drawing. Without looking up, the little artist said, "I'm drawing a picture of God." In her surprise, the teacher said, "Well, no one knows what God looks like." The little girl continued drawing and replied, "Well, they will in a minute." As a former classroom teacher, I can especially relate and appreciate that story. And I love the answer the child so comfortably gave her teacher. The little girl had no question in her mind that she was creative. To be that self-assured once again. I think back and remember a time when I too was sure of myself and I wasn't afraid to try and do. Sadly, the spirit of daring can get taught out of us, or we can get derailed by someone's critique of something that we made. We then must relearn how to reclaim our creative spirit and to regain our abilities to listen to the rhythms of our hearts. As Erich Fromm said, creativity requires the courage to let go of certainty. And isn't that part of the creative experience? Not being certain as to what the end product might reveal. How many times have you started to make something, knowing what you were doing and feeling very confident that you would recognize the results, only to end up with a totally different twist on what it was that you had made before? That would be me in the kitchen. Granted, this is not my area of expertise. And to be truthful, it's really not my area of interest, but sometimes I'm inspired to make something. Can you relate? Perhaps you set out to create something expecting a predictable outcome and discover it looks, tastes, smells, feels, or sounds different than your previous attempts. Creativity opens us to the world of possibilities. It creates in us the ability to become multilingual, for creativity is the language of the soul. And through that language, we are more apt to find ourselves. More is revealed. Through the act of creation, we learn to communicate with the divine. Through practice and application, we hear the longings of our hearts. We learn to articulate the sacred through whatever expression our creativity takes. When we attune ourselves to our inner muse, we come into alignment with one of the most precious gifts from God, creativity, and in turn begin to become fluent with the language of the soul. We ourselves are creations, and it is our very nature to create. We are at our very best, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually when we are creating. When God is your partner in creativity, you align yourselves with the frequency of the higher mind. When you partner with God, you invite the collaborative energies of the collective mind. The ocean of creative possibilities becomes your new playground and your blank canvas, and it's infused with the spark of a potential masterpiece. Your spirituality is uniquely colored by your experiences, your relationships, your views of the world. Your creativity also comes into expression through your unique lens and filter of the world. Your spirituality and creativity are interlaced, part of the same current that I call the heart stream. I would assert that your spiritual practices are graced with creativity, and your creativity channels your spirituality. When you realize this and work creatively to allow the intentional flow of divine wisdom, your creative ventures take on an individual beauty of their own. Whether you are designing a computer program, the trip of a lifetime, or a week's worth of menus for your family. Hamid Bey said, "You have a great amount of energy on call because all of the universal energy is at your disposal. Therefore, have an expansive cause, a cause that involves the betterment of humanity. Great leaders and those who are sincere in their efforts are constantly inspired, constantly supplied with energy because their thoughts are synchronized with the feeling of compassion, sympathy, tolerance, friendship, and love. Have the intent of goodness, of love, of friendship towards your fellow man, and you will have all the energy you need and more." The energy to which Hamid speaks also includes creative energy. Creativity begins with your willingness to start. Free yourself by realizing that nothing under the sun is fully original, but your imaginative version of something has the capability of a concept sprinkled with your brand of ingenuity, innovation, and whimsy. Creativity is self-generative. It can't be used up. So the more creative energy you pour into a project, the more there is for you to utilize. It encompasses the laws of vibration and abundance. One of my favorite creative ventures is to take an existing object and repurposing it for something totally different. A vintage wooden toolbox becomes a container for seasonal decorations that I switch out to match the occasion. My children's radio flyer wagon currently holds a stack of children's books and is topped with a book reading angel statue. A wooden pallet will soon add interest to the stark concrete wall that surrounds our backyard. Creativity waits with patience for your enthusiastic eye to dream up something that moves your heart. Enough to say, yes, I'll do it. In the Bible, Timothy 4, verse 14 encourages you, stating, neglect not the gift that is you. In the Talmud, the central text of rabbinic Judaism, it is stated, every blade of grass has an angel that bends over it and whispers, grow, grow. According to the teachings of Buddhism, true creativity has to do with more than just the ability or skill, or even actions or behaviors. While those play an important role, creativity ultimately has to do with our state of being. It was Yogananda Paramahansa who said, you must not run your life in the ordinary way. Do something that no one else has done, something that will dazzle the world. Show that God's creative principle works in you. I'll have to admit that the first time I read this quote by Yogananda, I was a bit daunted. At first glance, I heard the challenge in this quote. I was even inspired by the words, but I felt overwhelmed by what he was asking. Do something that no one else has done, something that will dazzle the world. That felt like a tall order. I don't usually go into a creative task with the idea that I'm out to dazzle or impress anyone. That feels like too much pressure. When I read it, though, without the final sentence, it starts to change the meaning once I bring that in. Show that God's creative principle works in you. So when we talk about that piece of it, now that is something I can wrap my head and heart around. I know from experience that when I want to bring more of something into my life, I must develop a framework or structure around it. In other words, I must establish habits around new endeavors. A creative habit will look different for each of us because we see our creativity through our own lenses of experience and areas of expertise. So I ask myself, what virtues does creativity demand of me? The answer at this stage of my creative journey led me to 4 virtues: a sense of wonder, love, trustworthiness, and determination. These 4 main virtues are my current focus. Why? In my understanding, each of these virtues provide me with multi-layered touchstones to help guide my work. These are my guiding principles. You may relate to a set of your own virtues, but let me explain why I chose these for me. A sense of wonder is where I begin. This is where the curiosity and openness come together and evoke a spirit of playfulness. Curiosity gets me asking questions and opens me to experiment in a playful way. Creativity is the playground of the soul. I find I am much more apt to stick with a creative endeavor when it's fun. In his book, Charlotte's Web, author E.B. White said, always be on the lookout for the presence of wonder. I agree with White. When you move through your day with a sense of wonder, you will find evidence of it all around you. Love, the second virtue of my framework, combines commitment, heart-centeredness, and the intent of beauty. Love requires a commitment to myself as well as my work, which keeps me creating something every day, even if that creation is a day well lived. Love is heart-centered, a reminder to lead with my heart and staying in the flow of my heart stream. When I keep my work heart-centered, I'm in alignment with the divine. Love transforms what might be initially seen as ordinary or mundane into something beautiful. A love-centered life can lead to a creation of beauty. Rumi said, "Your heart knows the way. Run in that direction." Trustworthiness is a virtue that I honor deeply. So I bring trust into my creative work. I trust my creator to support me as I'm using my gifts to give back through my creative self. I trust myself to show up in the creative process and not shy away. The third layer of trustworthiness is to trust my process. This can be challenging when it feels as though a project has lost its steam. Remembering to trust the process tells me to keep going, expand my patience, and hang in there. Author Iyanla Vanzant reminds us, as you learn to trust yourself, something miraculous happens. You begin to trust the process. You are living, and miracles, the miracles that life brings. Determination is the virtue that becomes the cog in the wheel of active creativity. It takes courage to begin a project and discipline and perseverance to complete it. I have learned to make peace with the idea and the action of discipline. I know that discipline is merely a system that allows me to create more efficiently. Sarah Frances Brown stated it this way: 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones you did do. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sail, explore, dream, discover. Though Mark Twain was credited with this quote, it's never been found in anything that he wrote. I love that a woman born in the 1870s was the one who said this. There's such a truth in that statement, that disappointment is more likely to come from the things you didn't do. Your soul wants to create. Don't waste time. Listen to where your soul is being called and do that. Your creativity is your story, and your story matters. Use your creativity to find your own systems that work for you. Maybe you resonate with some of these virtues, and maybe you have others that call more deeply to you. Doing an exercise such as discovering virtues that drive your creativity is one of many ways you can remember what makes you tick. Lao Tzu said, "He or she who knows others is wise. He or she who knows oneself is enlightened." The better you know yourself, the deeper you can dive into soul-satisfying creative activities. Creativity can grow more prolific when you tend to the honing and building of the skills that serve your creativity. Challenge yourself for a period of time to aim for more output. Research shows that some of the most creative people throughout history have produced their best work when they were producing the most work. Though some of the work did not rise to the level they desired, the mere quantity of work generated more creative energy, which then yielded a higher quality of creations. Keep a creativity record. Journal about your ideas, make a quick sketch, or take a photograph of an idea that you have for painting. Use your phone to record a melody that you wish to incorporate into a song that you're writing. Observe people. Watch and write descriptions of them for future characters in a story that you're developing. Go to the library and research anything that sparks ideas for your creative ventures. By capturing those creative thoughts, when they arise, two things happen. First, the universe sees that you are honoring the ideas that come to you, and it will send you more. Secondly, you give your ideas a safe place to land, which calms the anxious thought that you might not remember it later. When you're worrying about not remembering an inspired idea, you might find yourself not staying present with whatever you are doing or whoever you might be with at the time. Invite meditation into your creative practice. This is a great way to gather ideas that you later want to harvest. Meditation, as you know, opens us to the divine mind of possibilities. Specifically, cultivate a meditation practice for your creative adventures. Visualize, hear, and sense ways in which you can multiply your creative ideas and bring them into expression. Artists through the ages have often spent time in solitude and reflection. We sometimes forget the value of taking time to stare out into the world and observe. So allow yourself the fantasy of a good daydream. It is in the looking out that we then feel invited to look more deeply within. Be willing to dive deeply into your creative psyche, and the rewards will be great. Develop a relationship with your inner muse. In quiet times of contemplation, get to know your muse. Find out what name your muse would like to be called. Learn how your muse best communicates with you and gets your attention. Be open to the artistic influence of your muse. Get to know your muse through journaling and your imagination. Talk to your muse while you work, if it's appropriate. My muse is a guide who helps me in more ways than just nurturing ideas. She calms my nervous energy and encourages me when I feel discouraged or want to give up on a project. I've worked with her for many years, so I'm very familiar with her voice, her antics, and her many ways of connecting with me. I use an acronym to remind me that my muse is here to help me. M, master, U, ultimate, S, self, E, expression. Master ultimate self-expression. I highly encourage you to get to know this part of you. Your inner muse is waiting to connect with you and to develop a relationship that serves your highest good and creative passions. Your inner muse will be the one who gives you permission to say yes to your creativity when you're feeling timid about trying something new. She's the cheerleader who says, do the work and inspiration will come. She will push you when you're playing small, encouraging you to find your voice, unleash your gifts, Ignore the critic within and let your soul play. Once you begin to work with your inner muse, you will better recognize her voice and her ways and better understand how she connects with you. You will understand that she reflects what your soul is calling you to do, for your soul houses your divine self, the inner mind, the higher mind, and the higher heart. It is through your creativity that you will grow and evolve. After all, isn't that what you're always being called to do? To grow and expand into the best version of yourself? Developing your inner landscape is like planting the seeds for creations that you will eventually harvest. That inner work is crucial, and yet do not forget that you have partners in believing. Partners in believing who support your creativity and are thrilled to reassure you when your convictions fall short and you feel like you're failing and fear sets in. They are there to applaud your efforts and to cheer your successes. They are also there for you when you're feeling like you've failed and you want to give up. Seek out those angel benefactors, the ones who truly believe that when difficulty is there, they believe. When you're having a hard time believing in yourself. Your creative spirit can feel fragile at times and needs the perspective of someone who loves you, someone who is slightly removed so they can help you get out of the frame and see the whole picture. A partner in believing can be someone who reminds you how brightly your divine light shines, that you have talents and skills that are meant to be shared because your gifts are a service and help make the world a better place. These promoters of our creative spirits can be a reminder of Thoreau's words of encouragement. Move confidently in the direction of your dreams. Creativity is abundant within you and all around you. May you be blessed as you become a blessing to others through your gifts and talents. Own the divine birthright of your creativity, knowing you have what you need to become and begin creating something every day. Begin planting the seeds of creativity. By developing a creative habit, choose some virtues to guide your steps. Keep a record of your creative ideas. Meditate, daydream, and reflect to provide space for inspiration. Nurture a relationship with your inner muse. Open yourself to the support of your partners in believing, those people who bolster you and your belief when your own is shaky. You have all had creative dreams that took root and blossomed into the beautiful fruits of your labors. Your harvest of beauty is tapping out the rhythm of your heart. The season of your soul is ready to dance, so listen and move to the music that calls you. The rhythm of life is calling our names and begs us to listen and follow. Dance through the season and sing the refrain. The answers be true in our hearts, and the rhythm of life plays its part. Thank you.
Really enjoyed your talk, and it's a topic that I've had to work through myself for many years because I always saw myself as a technical person, not an artist or a creative person. And like you mentioned early on in the talk, creativity takes many different forms, and any kind of problem solving is itself a form of creativity. Even just standing in front of your closet and trying to decide, okay, what am I going to wear today? I'm going to grab this shirt, I'm going to grab these pants, and I'm going to put it together with this other thing. I mean, that's a form of creativity right there. And the other thing that, well, another thing, there's quite a few different things I got out of your talk, but another thing that I really related to as far as going in the kitchen and have an idea for fixing something, and it always turns out a little different. And I almost do that intentionally, is to always do things a little bit different. It's like, okay, how can I change this? How can I do it a little bit differently? Maybe better, maybe just different in itself. And Linda's gotten on to me a number of times. You better remember what you did this time and write it down so we can do that one again. It's like, I'll just want to do it again differently next time. So, so I have learned to embrace that creative side of myself and to really recognize that. So I definitely appreciate everything that you've said in there. And the other thing that I was thinking about, I wanted to try to address, and since I've got the floor, I might as well do it now. You mentioned that those who do more creative stuff find that they actually do better work. And I remember reading that there was a study done in some art class somewhere. I don't remember if it was high school, college level, whatever. But the students were divided into two groups, and one group was told that their final grade in the class was based on their best work, whatever it happened to be that they created through the year. Their best work was going to be 100% of their grade. And the other group was told that their final grade was just simply based on the number of pieces that they created. Didn't matter how good they were. And what came out of that was, at the end of the year, the students that were tasked with the objective to create the most number pieces of work actually created better work, because they worked through so many problems and they got new ideas. And sometimes, and I've seen this with myself, sometimes you don't even think of things until you experience them. And so by getting in and working with something, you realize, oh, wait a minute, if I do it this way, then I can actually do something better. So you learn through doing. And that's pretty much all I'm going to throw in here. But I really loved your talk.
Now that you mention it,
a lot of really good points there, yeah. So I'm going to open up the floor to everyone. And who would like to ask a question, provide feedback, share a story?
Like your songs, Darcy.
Oh, thank you, Pete. I appreciate that.
My little habit or my little creativity project, I guess you might say, that I like to do all the time. I create, many of you know, I'm really into gemstones. And this is a bracelet I just made. And so that's one of the things I do frequently, is pendants and earrings and bracelets. But the reason I wanted to mention this is because the original stone that I had picked up in Upper Michigan a couple years ago. Have you ever heard of a euperlite stone? No? Okay. Only found in Upper Michigan. And I'm going to see if this will work. I don't know. Let's see if it'll show. Okay. So if you look at the stone, it's just a stone. Okay. But if you look at it without UV light, and I don't know if I can do this. It won't work. Okay. Sorry. It glows. Okay. The stone glows. It has a glow to it that you can't see. I don't know if you can see the glow can you see the glow in the bracelet? Sort of, maybe. Anyway, doesn't matter. For those of you that maybe have never heard of a euperlite, they're really cool. Euperlite stone.
Is the euper like upper?
Upper, yeah, the euper. Yeah, the eupers up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Upper Peninsula.
Yeah, the Upper Peninsula, right?
Right. That's what I wondered when you said Upper Light. I thought the Upper Peninsula.
Yes, they got that trade name, but actually it's a fluorescent sodalite is what it really is, but it's fluorescent. When you put a UV light on it,
Wow.
it glows.
Oh, that's so cool.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Lori,
I thought you might like to know that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lori,
Yes.
I'm wearing one of your pendants as you speak.
Oh, cool.
I love it. I wear it all the time.
Wearing one of Lori's pendants.
Oh, wonderful.
I knew you sold jewelry, but I didn't know you make it. Is that
Yeah,
right?
well, I don't make the stuff that I was selling at the conferences. I really wasn't making that. I didn't really start creating my own like bracelets and that kind of thing until, I don't know, maybe a couple years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm really enjoying it.
Good.
Awesome. I'm glad you listened.
Well, Darcy, you were absolutely wonderful. You talked about so many levels of creation, and from the heart to the mind, and you were just phenomenal.
Lots of material, Darcy.
Thank you, John.
Oh,
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Standing ovation.
Wonderful.
It's always my intent to, the teacher in me, got to teach you something. but also, that we learn things and connect it so that it's practical knowledge, practical magic.
Well, when you say that we need people to give us support too and encourage us, that's one of the things that this group does. I feel that I've done a lot more listening to my inner voice since I've been more active with my Coptic groups again. So, and interesting things do occur. It's an interesting synchronicity. I found different things that seem totally unrelated, and all of a sudden I think, oh, this kind of connected to that, and if it hadn't been in this order, it couldn't have occurred. And by being willing to follow that inner guidance, I've had more interesting experiences in the last couple of years, I think, than I have in a long time. So thank you all. You've been very encouraging.
hey, Darcy.
Yes.
Did you say create a life every day? Create a life every day, or did you say create a wife every day?
Oh,
Create.
I didn't hear you.
Create a
I
life
was wondering when the joke was going to be coming.
I just really enjoyed it, Darcy. I think did a great job.
Thank you,
And
Pete.
I'm finding myself doing more creative writing lately. Health, it's the spiritual aspect of it is very powerful. I've been meditating a lot over 20 years now, and that's helped too. As even Han Bei said, the more we meditate, the more creative we can get. So I do as much as I can. Even sneeze.
Sorry.
God bless you. God bless you.